nutritionist therapist, head coach, and founder of Your Plate, dedicated to helping people achieve lasting health and happiness through practical nutrition and lifestyle change. With a diploma in nutritional therapy from the Institute of Optimum Nutrition, she is registered with BANT and CNHC and has supported hundreds of clients with weight management, type 2 diabetes, energy imbalances in personalized, genetically guided health plans, combining nutrition, fitness, sleep, and behavioral change coaching to create sustainable results. Through her signature 4-pillar method, Eat Well, Get Fit, Sleep Well, and Mindfulness, she empowers clients to build healthy habits for life without fads or quick fixes. It sounds really practical. Artie, thank you so much for joining us today. Our normal program is that you will speak for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we have a series of questions, starting with me, because I've got a question already before you've even said anything. So we look forward to asking you. So welcome from Northampton. Thank you for joining us. The airwaves are yours.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a privilege to speak to members of the community. I myself am South Asian, of Gujarati origin. I work with many South Asians from all walks of society. And I'm based in North London. So I'm going to share a few slides and I'm hoping it's going to work. So let me dive into that. Just give me a moment to get this going. Okay, where are we? Oh, here we are. Oh, come on. We'll get this here. Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, brilliant. I hope you can all see this once I present and move this out the way. Okay, hopefully you can all see that.
Yes.
Can you? I can't see anything. Don't know what's happened there.
Mm.
Oh, there we are. Okay, super. Let me just pop this out of the way. This is going to happen. Right, there we are. Yes, can we see it? Or is it slightly, this thing's in the way here, so I'm going to make that smaller. Right, okay, let's get started. Oh God, here we are. I've lost it again. I know it's here somewhere because I had it a moment ago and I can't find it. Sorry. Sorry guys, hang on. I will get this sorted in a minute. Why can I not find it? Okay, sorry. I'm going to try again. Here it is, I found it. Can we see this, guys? Can we see this?
Your screen share has stopped. We can see you now.
You can see me, but the screen share stopped.
Yeah. Can you please try to share again?
Yeah, I can indeed. Right, let's try. Okay, let's just do the desktop. Here, I'm going to do it here. Here we are. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we are going to be talking about protein, the importance of protein, and particularly how to eat enough protein as a vegetarian. Many South Asians are vegetarians. Most don't eat animal protein, and some don't even eat eggs as well. So this can make protein quite difficult for South Asians who are vegetarian and who have type 2 diabetes. So hopefully this talk is going to help you to get more protein into your diet, and I'm going to explain a little bit about why protein is so important. So first of all, protein is one of 3 macronutrients. Hopefully you've heard the term macronutrients, but the 3 main macronutrients are carbohydrates, which many of you will know about, your roti, rice, bread, pasta. And if you're vegetarian, lentils and dal is also a source of carbohydrate, but it's also a source of protein. And you want to try and keep your carbohydrates under about 130 grams a day. I'm not going to go into detail on that because the talk is not about that. But the important part is protein. You are aiming for a minimum of 60 grams a day if you're a woman, and 80 grams a day if you're men. Again, there are some like specific calculations for your personalized protein targets, but because it's such a short talk, I would just like you to think about these 2 simple numbers. 60 grams is a minimum as a woman and 80 grams for men. And then the final macronutrient is fats. And we're talking about good fats from healthy cooking oils, olive oil, a little bit of ghee if you use ghee in your cooking, nuts, seeds, things like that. So that's sort of the overview. Now, why is protein important for type 2 diabetes? There are 3 key reasons. Protein actually digests more slowly than carbohydrates. So as a result, you will feel fuller for longer. And that might be something you might have heard your nurse in your GP practice say, maybe your doctors, or maybe through your own reading. And if you're feeling fuller for longer, you're more satisfied, you can go from one meal to another with less snacking. And that is always really helpful because you are eating less often and you are supporting your blood sugars better when you're just eating set meals rather than snacking in between. This has the added benefit that it helps you to manage your weight, because obviously if you're eating less, you're consuming less calories, and hopefully this will help you to manage your weight. I am really simplifying things, but hopefully that just makes things a bit easier for you to understand. Thirdly, protein, as I'm sure many of you will know, it helps you to maintain your muscle mass. Now, your muscle is really important, not just for your general overall vitality and your ability to move on a day-to-day basis, but muscle has a really important role to play in your body's insulin function and your body's ability to manage your glucose. So those for me are the 3 really important 3 reasons why protein is so important in the diet. Now, don't worry too much about the detail of this diagram, but I guess what I'm trying to get across here is that increasing protein or making sure that you have enough protein in your diet helps to keep your blood glucose steady. Now, that's obviously really important for anybody that is pre-diabetic or has type 2 diabetes. So trying to shift the focus onto a bit more protein rather than carbohydrates will help to keep yourself in that green section of the graph that you can see. So your blood glucose is more steady. And as a result, and I'm sure some of you will find this, when your blood sugars are well managed, your energy levels tend to be more steady. That also has an impact on your mood. Usually it means that you're just in a better mood. You haven't got those highs and lows when your glucose is not functioning very well. And actually another thing is people find that when their glucose is steady, they have less cravings as well. So this is also an added benefit of eating a bit more protein rather than focusing on carbohydrates in the diet. Now this is just an overview of all the different protein foods that you may or may not be eating. Now obviously on the left hand side I have shown animal sources and the talk is about the vegetarian sources, so that is on the right hand side. In fact, I do have a zoom here. So what kind of food sources are we talking about when we are discussing protein? We're talking about things like yogurt, lentils, so dal, it might be mung beans, chana, it could be black-eyed beans, any kinds of beans, cottage cheese if you eat dairy, Seeds, they're very popular now, hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds. So all of those foods are really good sources of protein. Those green things are edamame or soya beans. So if you've ever eaten like if you've ever eaten like East Asian restaurants, you know, they sometimes give you those. Peas or muttar is a very good source of protein as well. Quinoa, I'm not sure if you will have heard of that, but a really lovely high protein grain, which isn't really part of the South Asian diet, but, you know, I definitely recommend it. You know, it's something to try. And things like nuts and seeds as well. So try and incorporate all these sources in your diet, and I'll talk about those in a bit more detail in a moment. Now, the South Asian vegetarian diet is obviously a very healthy diet. There's no reason to overhaul your diet in a massive way. But one thing I would say from working with hundreds of South Asians is that often the diets are limited in protein. So on average, from all the food diaries that I've analysed and the clients that I've worked with, I find that when they come to me, they're usually eating about 40 to 45 grams of protein a day. Now that's 25% lower than your 60-gram protein target, well, for women anyway, and obviously that's, you know, it's even lower for men. So just as an example, 100 grams of cooked beans or lentils contains 5 grams of protein. It's about 5%. If you compare that to 100 grams of cooked chicken breast and animal sauce, that's 25 grams of protein. So it's 5 times as much. So you don't need to eat as much meat to get protein as you do, you know, vegetarian sources. But, you know, don't panic, don't worry. I'm going to give you some tips on how you can achieve your 60, you know, your target of 60 grams or 80 grams. The other thing about vegetarian sources to be aware of is that they are less bioavailable. That means that your body doesn't absorb the protein from vegetarian sources as much. So you have to eat quite a lot of protein foods, dal, lentils, yogurt to get your protein, which again, it gets a bit tricky because that can sometimes lead to weight gain. So it's really trying to get that balance right. But if you focus on eating protein at every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and trying to combine 2 sources, then hopefully you can achieve your target. So a few examples are things like soya milk at breakfast. You can add that to your cereal, whatever it is you're having, maybe your Weetabix or bran flakes, whatever it might be that you're having. Another product that is very popular with my South Asians is this low-fat paneer, Apatina paneer. I don't know if any of you have come across that. Really nice product. Maybe not as creamy as normal paneer, but another really good high protein option, and it's also lower in fat, which is obviously good for your cardiovascular health. If you eat eggs, again, I understand not all South Asians do, but if you do, try and incorporate those a few times a week. Also low-fat dairy, so low-fat halloumi, things like that. Those are good as well. Try and stick to low-fat dairy rather than full-fat dairy so that you're not consuming too many calories, and obviously being mindful of your heart health. And things like cottage cheese and yogurt. So as Indians, we tend to eat a lot of dahi, yogurt. You can make lassi. So really, really be mindful and proactive about eating those sorts of foods and incorporating those into your diet. Now, my key takeaway is, make beans and lentils your friend. I know a lot of us probably do eat dals and beans and rajma. So rajma is a dish made with kidney beans, but really try and have those things 4 times a week. And you can batch cook these things, maybe make a dal on a Sunday and eat them a couple of times in the week, maybe freeze a few portions. Just, make things easy for yourself, make it convenient so that you can actually achieve these targets. And, whether they're dry products that you're pressure cooking or tinned, it doesn't matter. They're equally good. So, don't worry about any of that. The other thing I would say, if you are eating lentils and beans, try and combine them with yogurt every day. That will give you an additional amount of protein. And if you like tofu, tofu is something else to incorporate into your meals as well. And the great things about beans and lentils, it's not just about protein. They're also very high in B vitamins, which is excellent for your energy. And they also contain fiber, which is really important for your gut health, which is a whole other topic. So really getting your lentils and beans into your diet is such a good habit to get into. I think I'm probably running out of time now, am I, Rajiv, Keith? But I'll kind of quickly wrap up here. I've just put together here sort of how I teach my clients to create their plates and their meals. And half your plate should be vegetables that can be cooked or raw. So on the left side of this plate, you can see like a vegetable sabzi and some salad. And then on the right hand side, you've got your quarter of the plate, which is a protein carbohydrate source. So here you can either have roti or rice. And then the final bottom quarter is chana here, and that's your protein element. So a 200-gram cooked serving of beans or lentils will give you 10 grams of protein. And then if you combine that with 200 grams of yogurt, you can make it into a lassi that gives you another 10 grams of protein. So you've got 20 grams of protein at dinner. So, you know, with a little bit of planning, a little bit of understanding and knowledge, you can achieve your protein targets, but you do need to be kind of, you know, quite aware of how you're doing it. That's just an example of one of my clients' plates. And then finally, you know, if you are, or, you know, protein shakes can be a good top up. I do appreciate that they're processed, but, you know, if you're busy on the go, these can be a good way to supplement your protein intake. And these are the brands that I recommend in my practice. And I think this is particularly important if you are training, doing any strength training, trying to build your muscle mass. These can be really helpful as a vegetarian. So yeah, my top tip would be to combine 2 sources of vegetarian protein with every meal. And I think you'll be on your way to, you know, helping to manage your blood glucose levels and to being, you know, being healthier, really. So I hope that is useful.
Arti, thank you so much for that excellent presentation. We don't hear enough from nutritionists, and it's really good of you to join us on this program and inform us as to what we should be eating. We are what we eat, as we know. So eating proper vegetables is very important. My first question to you, I've got 2 questions before others come in with their questions. It is considered good if you ate your vegetables before eating anything else. For example, if you're non-vegetarian, people say eat the vegetables first, then eat everything else. Do you think that is the right way to approach eating, especially vegetarian issues? And secondly, is it a good idea as soon as you've eaten, whether it's vegetables or non-vegetables, is to do some exercises, in particular to go out and have a walk? It's quite difficult if it's the middle of winter. I mean, on a day like today, of course, it's wonderful to do that. Most people tend to eat in front of the television set, so they're not going to jump up and start walking around the room. Could you answer those 2 questions before we allow others in?
Sure. So as to your first question, I think this has been, I think eating vegetables is a little bit of a fad. There isn't strong clinical evidence to show that eating your vegetables before other foods makes a huge difference to your blood glucose. I think the focus should be on building a balanced plate, so making sure that you have vegetables on the plate, and then just eating kind of, you know, as South Asians, we would usually, we're not going to eat our sabzi by itself. We are going to sort of take our roti and we want to eat our roti with our vegetables. So I feel these cultural elements, to start changing these ways of eating is just a bit of a mindset thing. It's just would feel really weird to eat your sabzi without the rice or the roti. So on that point, I don't think that's necessary. But to your point on eating after a meal, I think that is an absolutely brilliant idea. And it's clinically proven that a 10-minute walk after eating has a very beneficial effect on your blood glucose. And you're absolutely correct. In the winter, when it's cold and dark, wet and windy, most people don't want to do that. But even just clearing the table, loading the dishwasher, putting on some laundry, doing some household chores for 10 minutes, rather than eating and going straight from the dining table chair to the sofa, that is never going to be great. So whatever movement you're doing, maybe go up and down the stairs, put some of your clothes away from the laundry, but definitely moving in whatever way. It doesn't have to be a walk outdoors. Moving after dinner is a brilliant thing to do. Do not sit and be a couch potato straight after a meal. Oh, you're on mute.
Hello. Excellent talk. I just wanted to ask a quick question. I mean, for a vegan, unfortunately, I assume that we are taking cow's milk plus B12. Is it sufficient enough? B12.
Yes, if you're a vegan, you should certainly be taking a B12 supplement. That's really important. And you would focus on your plant-based sources of protein. Hopefully, do you eat tofu?
Tofu, yeah, not yet. So tofu will be helpful, is it?
Tofu is an excellent source of protein. I feel like it's a must for vegans. Quinoa, have you heard of quinoa? The grain, Quinoa. So
Yeah.
people mispronounce it as quinoa, but
Can you spell it again, please?
Q for queen.
Yeah.
Quinoa, and it's a grain. It's an excellent source of protein with all the amino acids, and you cook it like rice, and it's very neutral, and you can even mix it into rice.
Okay.
So you could mix it in with rice and you wouldn't really notice a difference in the taste. And you can even put it into things like khichdi, and it's an excellent grain. I highly recommend it for everyone, not just vegans.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Thanks.
Tanya has a question. She's put it in the chat. What type of milk is best? Obviously, very few of us have full fat these days for obvious reasons. Many are on semi-skilled. What's the best milk to have? Almond, soya, oat? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so milks it's a whole minefield, really. If you can tolerate dairy, cow's milk, then I would go with semi-skimmed. Yep. From a taste profile, nutritional profile. If you really are on a low-fat diet due to cardiovascular health, you can go with skimmed milk. It's very watery, though. With respect to plant-based milks, soya milk has the highest protein. So soya milk would be the highest protein. Other milks like almond, oat, nut milks, they are very low in protein. The other thing I would say about the plant-based milks are that they can contain emulsifiers and other additives. So you want to try and use good quality brands and also go for unsweetened plant-based milks, because often they contain sugar and things like that. So you really want to get savvy, read the labels, and choose the unsweetened options if you are choosing a plant-based milk.
Chat, I don't know whether you can have a look at it or Rajiv can read it out. It's about CKD. Can you read that out, Rajiv? Because I'm turning my head sideways
Yes,
to
I
read
can
the
read it
chat.
out. Is it safe to eat 2 types of protein products if you suffer from CKD?
Okay, so we're talking about kidney disease, aren't we? Yeah. Now, obviously, you need to be mindful of your protein intake with kidney disease. That is something to discuss with your dietitian. That's quite a specialist area. And because I don't know you and your condition, you would hopefully have been given some requirements and some protein targets. So you would then need to, if you are eating 2 sources, if it's something like lentils or beans, they're quite low in protein. So maybe you wouldn't combine it with a dairy source, but that is a conversation to have with your dietitian who helps you manage your condition so that you aren't consuming too much protein. I hope that helps, whoever asked that question.
Yep, Any more in the chat, Rajiv? Any more to report?
Yes, one Tanya has asked why low-fat yogurt, please. I heard full-fat plain yogurt is better.
Yeah, okay. So I did mention low-fat dairy. So there's some mixed views on this. If you do not have any cardiovascular conditions, if you don't have high cholesterol, then you are fine to go with full-fat dairy. However, in many cases, people that do have type 2 diabetes sometimes do have high cholesterol, are trying to manage their weight. Usually type 2 diabetes doesn't come in isolation. So if you are trying to manage your weight or have high cholesterol, then choose the low fat option. If you don't have any cardiovascular conditions, if you don't have high cholesterol, and if you aren't trying to manage your weight, then you can go with full fat.
Okay, Ms. That is in the chat. Arti Bandari Shah, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure after the program we'll have more questions for you, and we'd very much like you back again to speak to the Chai Chat. You've had so far for this year a record number of people joining us, both live streaming and as participants. So obviously, and what they should consume. So thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you again.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay. We've now got the diabetes headlines. I know if you're back to Leicester, and we ask Rajiv to give us the news headlines. Rajiv.
News headlines of the week. Annoying food symptoms that could signal diabetes or liver disease. Occasional itchy skin is fairly widespread with many harmless causes behind the sensation, such as cold, dry weather, or insect bites. However, persistent itchiness that refuses to subside could indicate something far more concerning. Diabetes.co.uk warns that itching affecting the feet alongside the legs and ankles is common amongst those living with diabetes. The organization explains itchy skin can be a sign of diabetes, particularly if other diabetes symptoms are also present. High blood sugar level over a prolonged period of time is one cause of itchy skin. In some cases, itchy skin may be caused by complication of diabetes, such as nerve damage or kidney disease. Headline number 2, the blood type that raises your risk of silent killer diabetes by 28%. According to a new review published by the journal BMC Medicine, people with blood type B have a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. This includes both B positive and B negative. So people with blood group B should be especially careful about maintaining a healthy lifestyle and getting regular checkups. Headline number 3, experts believe diabetes may triple someone's dementia risk. Here's why. The research suggests that low blood sugar levels are the most dangerous for dementia risk. Very low blood sugar can harm the brain by putting stress on its nerve cell. Those with type 1 diabetes have roughly twice as many bouts of low blood sugar compared to type 2 diabetes. Also, extreme high blood sugar further worsens brain cell health. A recent study in mice found that having high blood sugar after a low blood sugar episode may cause even more harm, especially to the hippocampus, the part of the brain that helps with learning and memory. That's the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rajiv. And thank you all very much for joining us. Just to remind you, every week on a Wednesday, you can have your blood sugars tested at the Silver Star headquarters at 201 Uppingham Road. And usually on a Thursday or a Tuesday or a Friday, depending on the various events that take place at the Belgrave Neighbourhood Centre. You can also have a test if you're in Belgrave at the Belgrave Neighbourhood Centre. We will let you know of our next event. In the meantime, if you see the Silver Star van driving about, then please give it a wave because it's on its journey round Leicester. And please try and support us as we are trying to raise funds for another bus in Kerala, those of you who are Keralites, as well as in Mauritius. So for today, It's gone past, just past 6:30. Thank you for joining us. We will see you all very soon.